Parental advisory. This broadcast may contain some explicit content.
Your parents don't get it, and you don't care to explain. You've lost 4 girlfriends over it in the past year. Who you kidding? You ain't got time to meet new people. It's more than a hobby. It's a passion.
And it's coursing through your veins.
And we're the only ones who understand. This is Gamer DNA. Gamer DNA.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We can't follow that intro, so why try?
We've already failed.
We've already failed. We can't follow it up. Anyways, welcome into the Gamer DNA podcast. This is our first one. I am Belligerent.
And I'm Truth. I'm Truth.
We're gonna have to work on the pitch and catch there.
Okay.
So this is our first podcast, so it's not gonna be all I don't know what the right word is. Professional.
Or decent.
Or decent, yeah, right. So we're basically just gonna kind of introduce everybody to ourselves, kind of talk about some of what we hope to accomplish with the podcast and our website that hasn't yet been released to the public. So tell everybody a little about yourself. By the way, she's really nervous about this. I had to drag her into doing the podcast. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah, give her a hard time with your feedback.
I'm so glad you've announced that to everyone.
Hey, why not?
Well, I'm Truth. Not really a gamer. I just mainly play Vainglory because I'm obsessive and crazy. I'm a jungle roam main. Other than that, I'm a junior music major in college, and this is how I choose to waste my spare time.
She says she's not a gamer, but she spends almost all of her spare time playing games. She thinks she's not a gamer just because she only plays one game. But anyways, how can you be a main of 2 different positions?
Well, I was a roam main for a long time, and then this fucker right here was just like, nope, we're switching.
Oops. So those of you that might be listening, well, obviously you're listening for the first time. It's our first podcast. God, that was dumb. Anyway, shut it. So you'll also notice if you visit our website that we're primarily about Vainglory right now, but what our intention is to grow into a complete esports podcast and website. But we both met and play Vainglory, so that's where we're starting. You got to start somewhere and grow into something. But we are looking for people to help us out with other games.
Do you have a passion for video games? How about strong and insightful opinions? Gamer DNA is looking to add talent to their team. This group of passionate gamers volunteers their time and opinions to provide other gamers with insightful reviews, podcasts, and articles. Check us out on the web at www.Gam3r DNA.com. That's Gam3rdna.com.
So, you're going to hear a lot of Vainglory talk right now and probably in subsequent podcasts. Truth is our Vainglory lead on the website. So, generally when she's on, she hasn't committed to always co-hosting the show with me, so we'll see how that goes. But usually when you hear her on, we will talk something Vainglory. So hopefully you're Vainglory fans. If you don't know what Vainglory is, you should definitely check it out. We'll have a link on our website. So find that, check out the review and the news. What we don't want this podcast to turn into is what every other podcast is. So we will keep you updated on the world of Vainglory and other esports as we grow, but we're not going to be like regurgitating the news. We're going to be opinionated. We're going to talk about different topics, but we're not just going to regurgitate like, oh, this team won today, and this is what the new patch release is about. And we're not going to be strictly interview show either, because that's boring. You run out of people to interview anyways. But we
And we don't care what they have to say anyway.
Right. Or we'll have to interview people that you guys have never heard of and probably never will. So, we will do some interviews. Hopefully people will talk to us. Maybe they won't. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyways, you're not going to hear an interview every time. We will give you brief update on whatever game we're discussing in that podcast, but otherwise it's going to be opinionated topic conversation. She's great at filling dead air, isn't she?
I know, I'm so talented.
Tell us more about why you like Vainglory.
I think the main reason why I like Vainglory is because I feel like I'm always learning and getting better. Yeah, it's what I really seek from a game. I'm not into mindless apps like, Candy Crush. I'm not into that. I like to be mentally challenged, and that's why I like Vainglory.
So I personally enjoy Vainglory. I first got into MOBAs with Smite, which hopefully at some point we'll cover on our website. It's been a while since I've been in it, so I can't really keep you that up to date on it, but hopefully we'll find somebody that is. But I played Smite on the Xbox and then broke my controller and haven't played it since. And she's laughing because she's learning that breaking things is a habit of mine.
Yes, it seems to be.
So anyways, I was playing that, and then I got it. Well, I had been into Vainglory previously, but only kind of casually and just on the peripheral, like when it first came out for the phones. But so then when I wasn't playing Smite anymore, I got back into Vainglory, and I've been playing it a lot ever since. We're both on a team together, if you're wondering. We're both in the same guild. And we're both not very good.
Yeah, we're scrubs.
Yeah, scrubs.
We're super scrubby.
Yeah. No, we're actually about average. We're at level 6, teetering on level 7, I believe, right now. So, we're kind of on that seesaw. I'm sure a lot of Vainglory players experience when they're...
That elo hell, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Lose a game and you lose half your elo, win a game, and it's like you didn't even play the game. So That's where we're at right now. On our team, I am mainly the roam. Occasionally I will jungle when I need a break from roaming, but Anya started as our roam, and then we found better synergy when I was roaming and she was jungling, because she can be a little psychotic in her play. Oh, look, he's almost dead. I'm going to go dive the turret. And it's a little more acceptable for a jungler to do that than a roamer. So we gave her the power to go kill people.
This is true. When I was roaming, they would be like, "You doing okay up there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." 2 seconds later, I'm dead.
And then we're stuck in a team fight without anybody to heal us. So
yeah. We're pros.
Pros. Use a pro. We need to alter that. Who does that? Ludacris song. Yeah. Anyway, so Vainglory just came out with some new changes to their game recently. What do you think about those since the 2.0 update?
You're talking about the mid treant, the elder treant?
Well, it
and
wasn't
all that
there
shit?
At first. The
This
first
is true.
change...
What did they start with? The crystal miner?
Well, at the 2.0 update, they added the crystal miner, which they later changed now to crystal sentry, but that was no longer capturable. It just fought for you, and there was nothing in the middle. It was just the shop wasn't there for the first 4 minutes. And it's significantly, I think most people will agree, those changes have significantly changed the way the game is played.
Yes.
Before it was kind
in
of...
some ways it has not.
True. But I think they did succeed in stopping the snowballing by making those changes. But it kind of eliminated the jungle in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It kind of made the game more about the lane, and every game was more like a battle royale for a long time. It still is a lot of the time.
Yeah, and listening to some of their streams, that was an intentional outcome. What I don't get from the recent changes is when they first took out the shop because they wanted to eliminate those early game scuffles that could totally snowball the game.
Yeah, and then they decide, nope, we're not going to do that, and they put a treat in the middle.
Right.
Something to fight over.
So they wanted to stop the snowballing because everybody would rotate through their jungle, and then there would be a fight by the shop, and generally whoever won that fight got a huge momentum swing. Now, first they took that out to stop that, and then in update 2.1, they added the Elder Treant, I guess they're calling it, where the shop usually is. So now there's even a bigger fight, like, all the time. So I haven't heard any comments from them or anything. I haven't stayed completely up to date with all the streams and the interviews and stuff like that. But it seems to me that's kind of counterproductive. They made one change to make the game go in a certain direction, and then the following change brought it back even worse by adding the Treant in there.
Well, I've heard from some higher tier players that they don't even go for the middle. That's mostly about farm stealing in the early game. They don't even pay attention to the Elder Treant.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody has different strategies. This weekend I've been watching the Evil 8, and all of the pro teams are seeming to go for that middle Treant. So I don't know. Anyway, so the new character that we're only going to talk about briefly in Vainglory is Gam3r.
Yes.
And, you know, usually a new character comes out and everybody wants to play it, and it's fun, and it's a little OP. Or a lot.
And this is
in some cases. And for the first time in a long time,
this is not the case.
They released a fucking potato.
Yeah, they did. They released a potato.
Like, if any of you listening to this know how to play Gam3r well, please message the show and let us know how.
Send us your builds. Right. Send us your strategies, because we don't get it. We're not fans.
Record your games and show us how you play, because I have tried playing Gam3r in every way I can possibly think. Crystal, weapon, roam, and he just doesn't fucking work.
Yeah, we lose every single game.
And hopefully some of the people listening to this or eventually listening to this will know me from my work on Vainglory Fire. I do a lot of builds on that website, and I used to do a build for every character as soon as it came out. And then around the time Idris came out, I stopped because life got a little busier than it had been previously, and it takes a lot of fucking time to put together those builds, at least mine, because I put a lot of content into that. So I haven't done one for Idris or Gam3r. So usually my thing is figuring out a good way to play a character, and this is the first one that really has me stumped.
Yeah. So don't hold your breath for that guy, you guys.
Right. Yeah, this is the first character especially since I've been doing builds and kind of looking, I guess, seriously into the stats and how to build things and creating that stuff. This is the first character where I expect a buff to come out quickly as opposed to a nerf. Because usually the flow of putting a new character into Vainglory is they release it, everybody destroys everybody else with that character because it's so overpowered, and then in the next update or two they nerf the character because they realize how overpowered it is. I don't expect that with Gam3r. To me, Gam3r feels like Petal used to feel, where 2 out of the 3 abilities are completely useless.
Yeah. He just doesn't seem that tanky, and he doesn't seem to dish out a lot of damage either. So I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with him, you know?
Which is completely goes against what the statistics say he should be. He has, I believe it's the second highest health stat, and his heroic perk gives him a bonus 50 armor and 50 shield.
He's supposed to be like a walking wall.
Yeah,
he's supposed to be a walking wall.
Which is why when he came out as a jungler, I was like, this guy's not going to be a jungler. He's going to be a roam.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe there's a programming glitch where it's not reading the calculations correctly, but he just gets obliterated. Yeah.
Every time. It's very weird.
And oh my god, his A is completely useless. Like, completely. It's meant to slow people down, so you should be able to dash at them from behind, hit them, and slow them down. The only time I have ever successfully hit somebody is if they're standing right the fuck in front of me. Because otherwise, he dashes to the area really quick, and then there's a delay while he swipes his big, gargantuan, ugly-ass head. And by the time that attack has completed, the character has already moved out of the way. If they're running away from you, it just, because it stops your momentum and then swings his head, you just can't hit anybody.
Can we just take a moment to talk about the aesthetics of this hero? Because what the hell?
I love the aesthetic.
I'm not mad about it, but...
That's the best part about Gam3r. He looks like one of those demon dogs from the original Ghostbusters movie. Although I realize that you and most other people are probably too young to have ever seen that movie.
Fun fact, movie illiterate.
Yes.
I am movie illiterate. So sorry, y'all.
I'm going to have to refrain from making movie references because she'll be clueless.
Yeah, every time. Oh, well.
Wow. So... Oh my goodness. If they came out with a skin and he had some big wings on his back, he'd look like a cockroach.
He would look like Scarf.
No, not flying wings, like the wings of a cockroach.
Ew.
He would look just like a cockroach with those big giant pinchers.
No thanks.
Movie reference alert. Have you ever seen Men in Black?
Yes.
He looks like that fucking thing.
Yes, he does. He looks exactly like that fucking thing. Most accurate comparison. There you go.
And the running animation is ridiculous.
Oh my god, no, it's amazing.
Like, it's like a dog with mobile Tourette's.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty.
It's very strange.
I just can't wait to see what kind of skins they come up for him in the future, because I have no idea what they could possibly do with him.
I seriously hope they put more effort into fixing the character than giving him skins. I expect it to be kind of like a pedal thing where they might release a skin and then they forget about him because they're trying to figure out how to make him better.
That would be unfortunate. They made a mistake with that because they released Pumpkin Spice Petal at a time where she was a potato and nobody wanted the skin because nobody was playing her because she was a potato.
Yes, and now she's like way overpowered.
Yeah. Need to not release skins for potato heroes.
Yeah, like, look at how long it took him to release an Ozo skin.
Forever.
And when you have that much time to plan, how can the skin fall on its face so bad?
I don't think it fell on its face. I think it's a decent skin.
No, that skin.
Is it a rare skin? Is it rare? It's not epic, is it?
Yeah, it's just a rare.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly acceptable for a rare skin.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, the only thing that changed aesthetically is the ring has saw blades on it now.
No, they gave him different clothes, too.
Oh, so he's a different color.
I think it's fine. I'm not mad about it.
All right. So, anyways, enough bagging on the game that we love so much, but some of the things that Vainglory does right, in your opinion.
Some of the things it does right?
Right, because we just spent the last 5 minutes hammering the game we told everybody we love. So let's tell them why they should play the game.
Well, it's a team game.
No idea why she plays.
No, we actually just hate this game.
That's
We
what
got
the new
you all
podcast is.
fooled.
Let's
The
talk
podcast
about
is
games
just for
and how we
complaining.
hate them.
Yep, that's what this really is. We're just gonna roast games.
Yes. So what is it about Vainglory that you enjoy?
Well, I enjoy that every game is different. It doesn't follow like a storyline or something like that. Like every game could have different outcomes and different strategies and new weird off meta shit.
Yeah. If you're listening and you're not familiar with what a MOBA is, it's not a storyline game. So you're not playing like, Gears of War has a MOBA element to it when you're doing the team fights, but there's also a storyline that you can play through. Vainglory doesn't have that.
Yeah. So you can really make the game, however you want. I enjoy that about it.
The one downside to that is it is also a little repetitive because it's always the same map. It's always the same. Everything goes in the same storyline, so to speak.
Yeah. But I play every day and I never get bored. So just saying.
So, I've tried a couple of other MOBAs, especially the ones on mobile devices. And I think Vainglory just blows them all away. Like when I took a break from Vainglory and tried this other game for a minute called what was that? Oh, Call of Champions.
Oh yeah.
Which was kind of fun. It's kind of the entire game is a blitz mode, so to speak, if you're familiar with Vainglory and the blitz. All of the matches last 5 minutes. You have to push these little balls around, which is a little weird, but
yeah, it's not your typical MOBA. Yeah. It's definitely for casual gaming only. You are definitely not going to see this game as an esport.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I think it might already be one, just not very big. Are you serious? Big. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we live in the age where almost everything is an esport if it's a video game. So it's kind of popularity is what separates one from the other. But the thing with Vainglory compared to this other game, for me, when I was playing the other game, Call of Champions, all of the abilities basically looked exactly the same. I never knew what the fuck I was doing. I was just fucking tapping abilities and just trying to kill people. As where Vainglory, for most of the characters, all of the abilities have very specific animations, have very specific effects, and it's very well done in how you're able to string them together and move around the map.
I suppose it could be a button mashing game if you wanted to make it one, but in general, I think not. So
in a way, but not so. Because they control it through energy and stuff like that. As where this other game, there was no items. You didn't have to build items. You had no energy. There was only cooldown on the abilities. So you could spam them as much as you want and not give a shit about running out of energy. So, and in some ways that was nice, and in some ways there was no strategy to it.
Yeah. Well, in that game, I felt like you could never read what the abilities did, and you would be fine. It wouldn't matter. You could just, mash them, figure it out.
Yeah, some of them, like
fine.
if you
can't do that in Vainglory.
Right. Not and be
forever.
Successful.
Yeah.
But some of the abilities on Call of Champions, you have to read the abilities and remember. There's 5 abilities for each character, and trying to remember which one does what is like an effort and futility. But some of them do string together, and you can get better. So like doing ability number 1 builds a term that we're familiar with in Vainglory would be stacks. That's not the term they use in Call of Champions, but to simplify things, ability 1, 3, and 5 build stacks, and then abilities 2 and 4 do more damage based on how many stacks you have. So it would compared to Vainglory, it was a very simplistic game. I think
Absolutely.
I think one thing that Vainglory does well is it has a lot of layers of complexity.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's easy enough for new players to get into.
Yeah, that is one of the great things about Vainglory, is that it can be very serious, but it's also very accessible.
Right. And another thing, I think the catch-22 with Vainglory is it's a beautiful game. The graphics are amazing. But if you don't have an up-to-date device to run it on, you experience lag hell. Because it can't process the graphics and everything that's going on fast enough because there's so much put into the graphics.
This is true.
So that's one thing that makes Vainglory great, and it's also something that makes Vainglory
not so great.
Frustrating. iPad breaking worthy.
It's a pattern, y'all. It's a pattern.
Yep. Oh,
we're gonna have to set up a fund.
C9 took the second match.
Did they really?
Yes. Sorry.
Wow.
That's not good to do on a podcast, is just randomly talk about shit you're watching that the listeners can't hear. But oh well.
Yep. Oh well.
So.
But I think the graphics are one of my, well, maybe not one of my favorites, but they're very important to me. I don't think if the game wasn't this pretty, I'm not sure if I would have stuck with it when I first picked it up.
Yes. And let's be honest, the graphics is also how this game makes its money. You know, it makes its money by making these ridiculous skins and making you spend stupid amounts of money to get them.
Mm-hmm.
Or being a very, 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 very patient person.
That's another great thing about Vainglory, is that it can be a free-to-play game, a completely free game, if you want it to be. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's one of those games that has been termed freemium, where it's free to play, it's completely free to play, but you can also spend money. But the thing that I like is the money is not going to make you any better.
Yeah, that's really great.
As opposed to something like Clash of Clans, where you can spend money to get all of your perks faster or build whatever the fuck you do on Clash of Clans faster. I played that game for like a minute or two. But yeah, the money that you spend in Vainglory cannot make you any better. It can't buff your characters. None of that shit. It's just all aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's different with like the Call of Champions that we were talking about. And one of the things that I can't say I dislike it, but I don't think it makes for good matchups, is that you can, like, you level up your characters.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you play whichever character, I don't know any of the names, so I won't pretend to. Gobi. The bear's name is Gobi. I love the bear.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so if you play Gobi all the time, you're going to level him up to a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'll have a very strong character in the game. But then if you switch to another character, that character's only level 1 until you level them up. So now you're suddenly playing a weaker character.
Yeah. I'm so glad that that's not something Vainglory has.
Yeah.
Vainglory is very fair compared to a lot of games.
A lot of games. However, I think we would all agree that their matchmaking system needs some help.
Yes, it does. It needs a little bit of love and care.
Just a little bit, right?
Just a little bit.
I think that I enjoyed it more when it was based off of the visual rank.
I absolutely agree. I hate that there is a different visual and matchmaking elo. Yeah. I hate that. I hate that so much. I think it's dumb. I'm sorry. I hate it.
That's a conversation we're not going to get into today, because we could
we could go on about that for a long time,
and it would take at least half of the podcast episode just to explain to people that aren't familiar with it how it fucking works.
Yeah.
So
So we won't get into that.
So, yeah, so we've almost spent all of our time, but we can keep going. That's what's nice about podcasts.
Okay.
What I do want to do in this podcast is something that we just kind of glanced over, I guess, but I want to get more into who we are, whether it's in the game or outside of the game or whatever. So, go.
I enjoy iced lattes and long walks through the mountains.
Wow. This is not a dating site. It's a gaming site.
You said tell me.
So-
tell them about myself.
All right, so for
those are
all
the most important thing.
so for all you people out there that are gonna listen to her on the podcast and see her picture on our website and develop a crush on Truth, now you know. Just send her some Starbucks coupons in the mail.
Gift cards, y'all. Yeah. Gift cards.
And
feed my addiction.
Yeah, you'll have her everlasting love.
Except not. Because as much as I love coffee, cannot be bought with caffeine.
Yes. Well, then buy her decaf.
Definitely can't buy me through that. Chances are even less likely.
Right. Oh, my goodness. So anyways, I personally have been playing games forever. I was, unlike Truth, and probably a lot of our audience by the time we get this going, I was actually alive for the release of the original Nintendo.
Wow.
I was actually 7 years old when it came out, and I still remember my father bringing it home from a business trip, and we played it forever.
Aw, that's so sweet.
And for everybody who hasn't played a Nintendo, yes, there were actually days where you couldn't save your game.
I do not understand that concept.
You either finished the game or you didn't. There is no saving progress. Of course, in those days, most games could be completed in 2 or 3 hours if you were good at it. But there were no memory cards. There were actually cartridges. How many people remember having to blow into the Nintendo to get it to work?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
90%.
Antiques.
Yeah, 90% of our fabricated audience right now. But 90% of people that will ever listen to this podcast don't even know what a game. Yeah, they don't even know what a game cartridge is.
Well, I think that's not true. Because, Game Boys still use cartridges and stuff.
They do?
Or, well, I don't know what they're actually called, but, I mean, it's the same concept.
Everybody's like, what, you mean games didn't always come on a CD?
Come on, DSs don't use CDs.
You couldn't download a game? What are you talking about? No, we've not always been able to download a game.
Let's give them some credit. Give them a little bit of credit.
All right, I'll give them a little bit, but not much. Anyways, so I've been gaming for a long time. I've experienced most of the consoles, although in that era of Sega versus Nintendo, I was very heavily in Nintendo's favor. I wasn't a huge fan of Sega. Mm-hmm. Their 3-button thing was just weird. Of course, now games these days have like 18 buttons.
This is true.
I
was hanging out with some friends in person the other day, and they handed me the controller to play this game, and I was just like, I don't even know how to move my character around. There's so many joysticks. What do I do?
What's funny about that is I was just about to say, in a previous relationship that I had, I tried to get my girlfriend to play a game with me, and I handed her the controller, and she's like, what are all the buttons for? Because seriously, not counting the start and the select button, or whatever they call the select button these days, there's like 8 buttons and 2 joysticks on the controller.
Yep. Sometimes there's 2 joysticks and a directional pad button thing. I don't know what you call those.
But the directional pad is generally interchangeable with the left joystick.
True.
Or not used at all.
These things confuse me regardless, because I am not a console gamer. I am not a gamer. I play Vainglory.
You're a gamer. You spend most of your free time playing games just because.
I'm a fake gamer.
Yeah.
I play on a mobile device. I think that's a fake gamer.
Well, don't tell all of our Vainglory fans that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Much love to mobile gamers.
Much love to mobile gamers. Oy vey.
I know.
Okay, so what are your hopes and dreams for our podcast and our website?
I'm just hoping I don't get roasted. Every time I play on stream, like a friend stream or just randomly, I get roasted every single time. They don't even hear my fucking voice. Just by my playing, they roast me. Now people are actually going to know what I sound like? Jeez. Bring it on.
Yeah. Wow.
No, but I hope we, develop a little bit of an audience and we're able to entertain some people and maybe help some people out. And
worst case scenario, we'll entertain ourselves.
Yeah. Worst case scenario.
Worst case. So, some of what at least what I have in my mind planned is, obviously not just covering the game, but covering the whole esport community of that game. So getting to know the teams, kind of watching the I guess seasons, covering that stuff, keeping people up to date, but also having conversations about things that don't necessarily get talked about a lot. Like one subject that I'm really excited to get into in a future podcast is like specific items, because at least in our game, in Vainglory, our game, like it's really ours, but in the one that we play, right? Yeah, we own it. If we owned it, we'd not be doing this.
Yeah. If we owned it, we wouldn't be CT.
Yeah, we would totally put in a bug to cheat. Nobody could ever guess. Anyway, I think one thing that gets lost are situational item builds. Everybody gets caught up in always building the same build, and I don't know that that's the best way to go.
I think it's not the best way to go.
Yeah.
Like, at least 70% of the time. I think, and if you're a roam, I don't think you should ever have a standard build.
Right. Well, I think for the most part, you can always have kind of a standard roam build, but I think some of the situational items come into play even more so for roams.
Yes.
But we'll get into that in a different show. There's so much.
Another thing we could talk about for a very long time.
Yes, that will definitely be another podcast episode. So, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. There's lots of aspirations that I have for this project that we're putting together. So I'm excited, and hopefully everybody else is excited. And if nothing else, hopefully we'll give them a half hour or so of shit to laugh at.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't hate wasting their time with us,
Right.
Yeah.
And hell, if nothing else, they can always listen to the podcast while they're gaming.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do that.
And that's also why we'll try and keep the podcast short and sweet, because it gets tuned out eventually.
Yes.
So, anyways, that wraps up our show for this episode number 1. I am Belligerent.
And I'm Truth.
And this was Gam3r DNA. Where's the stop button?
No! No!
Where'd the gold at?
We fucked up!
Game over.
Would you like to continue?
Check us out on the web at www.Gam3r DNA.com. That's Gam3r DNA.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Gam3r DNA. And follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/Gam3r DNA. It's more than a hobby. It's a passion.
It's a passion.
This is Gam3r DNA.